Welcome to Season 1 of Garth and Sue Talk, a new series by Psych Sessions, where we bring up a topic of conversation and then we just riff. These are the water cooler conversations that you have with colleagues in your department. These are the chats you might have at the bar after a good day at a teaching conference. So, please pull up a seat as we talk about teaching. Hey Sue, welcome back.
Good to be back, Garth.
We are going to talk about STP today, and that is the Society for the Teaching of Psychology, as you well know. APA Division 2. When did you first hear about the society?
Oh, holy smokes. Mid-90s, if I had to guess.
Yep. Yeah. So it would be a guess. So you don't remember specifically exactly what that was all about or what it was related to?
Not in the least. It would have to have been just this incredibly emotionally powerful event. And I'm sorry to say that learning about STP did not have that kind of emotional power.
Well, that's interesting. Because I don't remember exactly where it was, but I imagine that when you heard about STP, that STP was not the thing, the entity it is, or was even 10 years ago when I first heard about it. It was probably by that time, I don't know when the STP Facebook page came about, but and I think also, and I don't want to date anyone here, but the way the internet and social media took off, and now a society like STP could promote the things that they were doing very widely and broadly. I found out about it pretty early in my career while I was at your institution at Highline. What do you think about that?
I'm not at all surprised. I think for me, it certainly was at the dawning age of the internet. And I would have come into STP either through learning about Project Syllabus, which was probably the major resource aside from the journal Teaching of Psychology that we had at the time, or probably even more likely was the Psych Teacher listserv. And there were two major Teaching of Psychology listservs at that time. Psych Teacher was one, which was a moderated list. It still is a moderated email list. And the other one was TIPS, which is Teaching in Psychological Sciences. And that group was a free-for-all. It was an unmoderated list with all the personalities and joy that comes with that. But I got to know quite a few people through the TIPS listserv who I then later met. And Linda Wolf, for instance, I first met through TIPS.
Right. And then, so were those officially run through STP, or were they just kind of loosely associated by membership?
The Psych Teacher was run by STP. Okay. I don't think you had to be a member of STP to be a member of Psych Teacher, and you still don't. TIPS was an independently run thing. So it was, I'm blanking on his name, but it was at Frostburg State, and it was just listserv software that they ran through there. And I joined that in 1994, just as I was transitioning from an adjunct job that I had into my first full-time job. And it was between TIPS and Psych Teacher, those were lifelines for me. That was my primary contact with other teachers of psychology.
Yeah, that's interesting. As we've talked about before, my lifeline was our psychology department at Highline, because as a new faculty member, I really learned a lot. And so I was taking what you all were aware of in probably in part from the Society of the Teaching of Psychology, and it was coming into our department meetings, which, so when you mentioned Project Syllabus, I think to myself, actually, that was the first thing that connected to STP for me. And I don't remember which course it was that I was prepping, but it was like, hey, check out this place where people send their syllabus in, they're peer reviewed, and they do a really good job of this service, this resource for faculty. And I remember checking that out. What about the best practices conference? When did you get to that? And for those folks who don't know, that's what the annual conference on teaching was formerly called. Do you remember your first best practices conference?
I don't. I don't even remember when they started. Holy cow! This is turning into a quiz, Garth.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
this is an oral exam, is what this is.
I mean, I did just text you a couple hours ago and said today we talk about STP, and so there wasn't a whole lot of prep. But yeah, I mean, I was never at a best practice. Were you at one, a best practices conference? Okay, so I think I've only ever been to ACTs, and so I maybe started the first ACT.
I see.
But yeah, go ahead.
The best practices conferences each were themed. So there was one, for instance, that was an intro psych best practices. I think they had one on research methods and stats. I think there might have been one on the history of psychology. So when they started recycling topics was when this younger generation of leaders in the society started to come forward, and there were enough of them that said, hey, how about if we turn this into a general teaching of psychology conference? And, here's an idea. Let's move it around the country.
Yeah. Now, I imagine that somebody like Tom Busateri or Ted Bosak or somebody like that would know who those people were. Do you have any idea who those people were who were calling for this conference to change? Or was that before you were in the room?
I believe Jordan Troisi was.
Oh, really? Okay.
Was one of the voices for that. Yeah, I think that he was. I don't remember if he was the one who brought it up initially, him and a smaller group of people, or if he is just the one who was tasked with, okay, you're first, let's move this.
Well, he did a great job with that. That's for sure. Yes, by the way, we should let people know that eventually you were the president for STP in 2017. Oh, it is a quiz. Come on, Sue.
Oh, man.
Hold on. So we got to go backwards. We got to go Amy Feinberg. And then before Amy was Rick Miller. And before that was you. So 19, 18, 17.
I was going to say 2018. But
2019, 18. Yeah, 18. You're right.
Okay, 2018?
Yeah, let's agree. Even if it's wrong, we'll just agree on it.
Okay, let's agree on it.
That's right.
Sure.
And who preceded you? Ken Keith was before you. Mm-hmm. And we got Susan Nolan coming up this year, 2021, STP president. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so you have been, you're a past president of STP. And what would you say and we could read the mission statement, but from the inside, what's the purpose of STP now?
I don't think the mission has changed at all since its inception. It's all about helping teachers of psychology become better teachers of psychology.
Yeah. And even though it's expanded greatly, would you say that it has expanded equally over year by year, or has it seen a large expansion in terms of resources and like ebooks and then also in terms of grants and blogs and all kinds of things? Has that been kind of exponential recently? I
would call it exponential. Yeah. There are a lot of people who have a lot of great ideas have really become involved in the leadership of STP in the last 10 years. And they bring their ideas to their table and those ideas get implemented. So we've got a lot of things now that we didn't have before. The blogs, for instance. Mm-hmm. So all kinds of things. Let's see. So the president now has a letter that they post on the front page of the website, and that's fairly new in the last few years. The This Is How I Teach blog, for instance, that came along sometime in the last 5 years. Excellence in Teaching used to be something that was delivered via email, and now it is posted as a blog. So lots of stuff there. Awards and grants. those have really blown up.
Yeah.
So all kinds of opportunities to apply for money through the association.
Yeah. Yeah. And one only needs to get on teachpsych.org and poke around a little bit to find something that would help them tremendously, whether it's money or information or connection. Now there's a new mentors thing going on now. And I forget the format of that, if maybe they're just putting people in touch, but these wonderful resources. And then it seems to me, as I look from a distance, that not only are we coming up with new things, but we're coming up with better ways of doing even existing things. And of course, the pandemic has made us shift a lot because I think that the annual conference of teaching, for example, is one of the main things that we do that brings people together. We had, how many people did we have at the last ACT? It was the largest by far. And so, but we're doing things differently. We're, even as a huge organization, it seems like we're able to pivot and move pretty well. And that also happens. Because STP is it a nonprofit organization? It is, right? Mm-hmm. Even though it's a division division 2 of APA, which has 54 divisions, I think now. But it's a nonprofit, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And it makes tons of money from its members, right?
Good one.
Let's talk about that $25 fee, annual fee. That's a little ludicrous that you get everything that STP offers. I don't know. I'm not a member of anything else where I get that kind of upside for that little money. So we can't even go out for dinner here in Seattle for that. So
no. And we can't go out for dinner now anyway.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So for $25, it is annual membership fee, and you don't have to be a member of APA to join STP. And the biggest thing you probably get for that $25 is the Teaching of Psych Journal, which is a quarterly publication. A lot of the other resources that we have are free resources, but if you do want to apply for any of the grant money, put your name in for any of the awards, nominate anybody for the awards, then you do need to be a member of STP. And the Facebook page has thousands of people on it, and the STP membership is somewhere around 3,000, give or take. And everybody who is a member of the Facebook page, if they're getting good information out of there, if they're getting a lot of support from that group, then they should absolutely pay the $25 and put it back into the society.
Yeah, I want to just reiterate that it's a bit of a mystery. It's a back channel conversation, and sometimes very public conversation, as to why there exists so many people on that wonderful Facebook group for STP, and then only less than a third of them are members of STP. That's a mystery. And we've talked a little bit about some theories around it. I'm not even sure that's so important, but I hope that if you hear this and you are not a member of STP, that you would support it, because there are a lot of people doing a lot of good things. And I think putting your money, even $25, putting that up is going to give you a different level of investment. And it's not even the money that STP needs so much as we really value the relationships, and we really value teachers who care. And if you're in the STP Facebook group, you care about teaching. And so why not make that official in some way and join STP? Anything else you want to say about that?
And once you join, we would love to have you involved in committees. In the STP Leadership, there are a ton of opportunities. There's a Get Involved page that you can keep an eye on. If you're looking for leadership opportunities that's going to help you with promotion, for instance, this is a great place to do that. This is a group of people that is really dedicated to the teaching of psychology. So please pony up your $25 and join. If that $25 is too much for you, and I totally get that, especially right now in pandemic world, email Tom Pusateri, who is the executive director of STP at stp@teachpsych.org, and let him know that you want to join, but you can't afford the $25, and he'll work with you.
Yeah. And I'll just say too, my experience with STP is that when I came into, when I started to understand what it was and I got onto a task force, I think that's many people's stories. They start in on a presidential task force, which happens, every single year, pretty much. And I started on a task force, and then the person who was chairing the task force suddenly couldn't. And so now I was chairing a task force, and then I was working shoulder to shoulder with all these people who were, and I'll say it, better teachers. They understood teaching more than I did. They'd been around longer teaching, and that stuff started to rub off. And now, at some point in my first couple of years, this went from, hey, I'll just test the waters here, to a total in-group for me, where I learned so much. It became so valuable for me. And now I've got lifelong friends from STP, which has been pretty cool. And I would actually even say that as an early career person, when I came in, I didn't have a tenure track job. I was working in the community college system, and I would attribute getting involved in STP to my eventual, where I am now, which is with a tenure position at a community college. That is a very, very strong correlation for me.
Yeah, because you had enough sense to listen to me.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, because even things that were, associated with APA, like SNAP. We did SNAP a couple of years ago, the Summit on the National Assessment of Psychology. And you said, Garth, you should go do that too. And I said, yes, I should. But that was all STP people.
Yes.
And you realize this is where my people are. And so for people, especially like I teach in a department that has 2 people in it. I don't have a large department that's really close, but I do have my national colleagues, and later I'll be on a Zoom call just for fun with folks all over the country from STP. So it's been really valuable to me.
And even people who are in large departments can feel isolated, that it's a large department, but when we get together, we talk about the agenda items for the department. We don't talk about the teaching of psychology. We don't talk about, hey, I'm thinking about changing up this assignment. Can I get some feedback on that? So I think in that way, the Highline Psychology Department is a little bit different. We're a department of 5 or 6, depending on the year. And we do talk about those things. And we also gossip and eat popcorn and meet way more than anybody else does. But I think for a lot of people, having people you can talk to outside the department about teaching, it's much less threatening. It's just here. The funny thing about teaching is that it's both a very public activity and a very private activity. It's very public in that you're up there in front of your students. Your students know exactly what they're seeing, what you are doing. They are seeing everything happening in the course. They're looking at your syllabus. They're watching you, not to make you paranoid. But so in that way, it's public, but it's also a very private activity, because very rarely do our colleagues get to sit in on our classes and see us do what we do. So it's hard for us to get peer feedback on what we do. But one thing I absolutely rely on my colleagues for is anytime I'm thinking about making a change to my course in any way, I run it by my colleagues just so they can save me from myself. Just so they can say, what are you thinking? Think about how much work that is going to be, both up front and in helping the students get there and in scoring the assignments. Are you nuts?
Yeah.
So, yeah. for anybody who's ever made a big change to their course and then regretted it, you absolutely need to have some people that you can talk to about teaching.
No doubt. And I'm glad STP has this mentor thing. Not everybody who has a lot of experience is a great mentor, but I suspect that STP figured out who the good mentors were for early career folks. Hey, just a couple other things that I wanted to give STP kudos. I think that they've done some really interesting stuff recently that I've seen. One is, I saw this on Twitter, I think, STP is no longer asking for nominations for awards. They are now asking for applications, just so that people can self-apply and not feel weird about it. And I love that, because our society likes to really celebrate good teaching. And sometimes you don't have a colleague or someone who is going to do that for you. So while it is very nice to be nominated, as you well know, for an award, I really do like the play. Hey, let's not make it weird for people to get awards. So they are clearing the path for people to get awards. The other thing that I was just really impressed by was recently, this summer, August 19th, STP did the executive committee and some others, I think, other committees worked on a statement on addressing systemic racism and inequity in STP. And that was really important and moving, and it just showed great leadership. And I was proud to be involved in STP when, and so that is what you are getting into and what you're supporting when you become a member, is that really good, really fast, amazing work by the leadership, which you can be part of if you just get involved. One last thing I'll say about that is I've now been in STP long enough where I've seen people who are younger than me come up. I mean, this feels weird to say, but come up and get involved. And I have seen them get swept into positions and leadership. And all of a sudden they go from maybe being on the outside and thinking, oh my gosh, there's Jane Hallinan, or, being kind of like awestruck with these psychologists who they really admire. And now they are contributing, and now they are giving keynotes, and now they are, they have positions of leadership within STP. And that is not hard in STP. It's crazy how easy it is. You work hard, you start saying yes as an early career person, and you will just get lifted up. As Eric always says, that a rising tide lifts all boats. You will be a boat that just gets lifted up by it, in career, and I think in friendship and all those kinds of things. Yeah, I know that's your experience too. So,
absolutely is. I cannot disagree with any of that.
Yeah. What else did we miss? What's anything major? I'm trying to think about STP that people should know. It's not election season. STP does a really good job too of sponsoring some great programs like Psych Sessions. They also sponsor the Psych 1 conference at Duke. Yeah, they got their fingers in everything these days, which is pretty cool. They have a long-term relationship with Sage Publishing, which is how the journal Teaching of Psychology comes out to us quarterly, I think, right?
It is quarterly.
Yeah. And I think that's all I have to say right now. Anything else about STP?
$25 toward supporting a quality organization.
Yeah, $25. So well worth it. And it won't be the last time we talk about STP. We really do genuinely care about the people and the institution itself, and it does great things for our little field. So thanks again, Sue.
Thank you, Garth.